In my journey, I've pitched to hundreds of investors. One simple mistake, and it may prevent you from raising the money you need to scale your business. So here are my 3 tips when it comes to raising money. Always aim for the top. Be the best of the best. Winning on winning on winning.
All I ever think about is winning. I don't need to fit in. I try to explain again and again, but you never want to listen. Never want to push you in.
In my career, I've dealt with private investors, angel investors, venture capitalists, and institutional investors. And one thing I can tell you is that the very first thing to do before approaching investors is to know what you're getting into. So here's a few things you have to know. 1, once you take on external money, you don't have the same control over your company. It's not your show anymore. 2, you will be accountable to other people and you will have to report on a monthly or quarterly basis. 3, you will have to recognize that investors will eventually want to make money on their investment, which means that one day you will sell your company to a bigger company, or you will bring your company public, or maybe you will go bust. I hope not. In either case, you will be accountable to shareholders and the company mission will become much bigger than your personal hopes and dreams. So you have to take that into consideration. On the flip side, there are many advantages to taking on external investments. For example, you will have access to a whole new world of possibility by accessing your investors' network and contacts. Your sales will grow, your team will grow, and your company will start to have a real corporate structure. You will have a board of directors, board meetings, a real agenda, and you will achieve significant milestones that may have been impossible to accomplish on your own. Essentially, you have to meditate on this because it comes down to what do you ultimately want from life. Because taking on investors is a real long-term commitment. But if you ask me today, Lennie, if you could go back, would you take their money? Well, the answer is yes. Investors got me to understand so much about the business world and how to scale a company properly. And today, through the network I've built, I can help many young entrepreneurs scale and find their North Stars, which is extremely rewarding. But again, this is a personal choice, so I'll leave that one up to you.
All I ever think about is winning. I don't need to fit in.
Once you're convinced that you want to take on external investments, you first have to know when is the best time to approach investors. In most cases, you can only approach them if you have the following 6 things ready. 1, you need a legally registered company. 2, you need a 10-slide Kawasaki-style pitch deck that can easily summarize your business plan. Directly related to your pitch deck, you also need to know your elevator pitch like the back of your hand. Meaning that if you're at a bar and you meet an investor, you can easily explain what you're doing in under 30 seconds. 3, you need to have a deep understanding of the market and the competition, because trust me when I say that you will be challenged and questioned big time about everything surrounding your business. 4, you need a team that consists of you plus at least one other person. Why? Because you're not the best at everything, and you need at least one other person that believes in you before someone else pours money into your project. 5, you need some sales or at least some sales in the pipeline, unless you have some sort of proprietary technology or patent that can help revolutionize a market segment. Remember that investors need to see traction. Finally, number 6, you need to have a clear demand. For example, you could say, I'm looking for this amount of money to hire 2 full-stack developers, create an A/B test marketing campaign, hire 2 senior salespeople, get some office furniture, etc. For this point, I recommend creating a 3-year financial plan. You can easily find many templates online. Most investors look for the same things before giving anybody money. So remember, nobody will take you seriously if you don't have these 6 items on lock.
All I ever think about is winning. I don't need to fit in.
It goes without saying that no investor will give you money when they first meet you. But nobody will tell you no. Instead, they will tell you, not yet. Because 1, there's a lot of due diligence to complete, but 2, they don't want to be known as the investor who said no to an amazing deal or to the next Lennie Moreno. The investment world is full of FOMO. And your job as an entrepreneur is to keep the excitement around your project going. For example, once you have your preferred list of qualified investors and you've established the first contact, you want to keep them in a special folder. And every time something big happens in your company, like you've just released your MVP, or you just signed a big client, or you just made an important partnership, you want to send personalized email to all these investors to keep them updated on the hype. Most of them won't answer, but they will read your emails. And as your traction gets bigger and bigger, sometimes you will receive questions by email. And that's when you follow up without giving too much information away. You want to keep them excited and get them to meet you face to face. Why face to face? Because you want to see if it clicks. And I can promise you that it's so much easier to fill it out when you're face to face with someone. But for that, hashtag stop messing around, hashtag open the country now. Remember, bringing on investors is like a marriage, and you both need to feel like you're suited for each other to make this adventure successful. You'll go on a few dates and you'll see if it clicks. But in order to go on that date, you have to keep selling yourself as the best candidate for a happily ever after. We interrupt this episode for an important message from our sponsors. Tests. Get a test if you think you have the flu. Get a test if you think you have the cold. Get a test even if you think you have nothing. Give all your data to politicians so they can control your life and keep you locked down forever. Keep getting tested and you're gonna keep losing, and losing. So to recap, if you want to be successful at raising money, remember, understand what you're getting into, have your basics covered, and follow up with your investors at every big milestone. This is how you win, and win! And now it's time for ZIA'S killer question. Oh no!
Goes down, white gloves treatment every time I come around. I even got your lady that be jumping up.
So these are great tips to raise money, but where do you find these investors?
The famous question, where do you find these investors? Well, I can tell you how I did it. I started locally. So I applied to local subsidies and grants for startups. That's the first move to make. And from there, I tapped into their contacts because in the financial world, everybody knows each other. So from there, I started building lists and I looked at local conferences, I looked at local events for angel investments, for venture capital, and off I went. I just applied and applied and applied, pitched and pitched and pitched, no fear, no ego, and that's how you have to go at it. Thanks for watching. I got none but love, and I challenge you to become the best of the best of the best version of yourself. Next week, you don't want to miss this because we're going to talk about how to never be afraid. And I'll give you my 3 tips to bring you to the next level. So make sure you subscribe to my channel for another episode of How to Win. And by the way, if you haven't already, make sure you check out my last 2 music videos, Underdog and In God We Trust. They're the bomb. Peace.
All I ever think about is winning. I don't need to fit